should be starting, preparing. Okay, 3, machine's slow. 2, 1, should be live now. Okay, you're live.
Okay, it looks like we're live on YouTube. I'd like to call this meeting of the Orange County Broadband Authority to order at 4:04 p.m. on Tuesday, May the 5th. I'm the county administrator, and since this is the organizational meeting, I will be running the meeting for the few minutes while officers are elected. But first, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
And with that, I will open the floor to nominations for the position of chairman of the Broadband Authority.
I would nominate Jim White.
I would second that.
Jim White. We do have a second. Are there other nominations for the position of chairman?
Jim
Right.
White.
If there are no other nominations, can I have a motion to close the nominations for the position of chairman?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so it's unanimous to close that nomination. Let's now move to a vote. All those in favor of Jim White for the position of chairman, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
I'm going to sustain or abstain or retrain. I don't know which.
Okay. The motion
One of those.
passes 4-0 with Supervisor White abstaining. With that, Chairman White, would you like to take over for nominations for the other officer positions, or would you like me to continue until we're done with that?
I'll take over. That's fine. I do have a question for Allison. Should we announce our location now, or you want to wait till after the board is set?
If you want to continue with the organizational meeting portion and announce your physical location prior to adoption of the agenda, that would be fine.
Okay. All right. I will open the floor for nominations for vice chair for the Orange County Broadband Authority.
Nominate Mark Johnson.
Second.
Okay, I have a nomination, Mr. Johnson, and second. Any other nominations? If not, is there a motion that nominations be closed?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of closing the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think that was 5. 0. Okay. We'll take a vote. All in favor of Mr. Johnson serving as vice chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Okay. All right. Vote is 4-0 with Mr. Johnson abstaining. Okay. We have in the past, we've had a combined position of secretary treasurer, and Mr. Voorhees doesn't know this yet, but the county administrator has provided both of those roles in the past, and I think that
I would nominate Mr. Voorhees to serve the combined secretary treasurer role.
okay, is there a second to that nomination?
Second.
Okay.
Wasn't
Any
it-
further
wasn't it once-
nominations?
Wasn't it once said by a famous politician, if nominated, I will not run, if elected, I will not serve?
And that's why you're not a politician. One of those.
And your
Other
name
one.
is not Johnson.
That's right.
Yeah, And this is an appointment, not an election.
Oh.
So,
Allison warned me in advance, so I had some knowledge.
And
okay,
it will be at the usual, on the usual pay scale also.
yeah, that's right. Only a minor deduction. All those in favor, Mr. Voorhees as the combined secretary treasurer, say aye.
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 Passes 5-0. All right. Since we have our slate of officers for the coming year, before we move to the agenda, let's everybody identify their location since this is a virtual meeting. I am at my home on Berry Run Road in Orange, Virginia.
I am at my home at 13451 Albano Road, Barboursville.
Mr. Frame,
I am at my home on Woodland Trail in Locust Grove, Virginia.
Mr. Crozier,
Yes, I'm at the real Orange County Airport, not the faux Orange County Airport, as Mr. Johnson replied to an email the other day, and that would be in Virginia.
okay, and Mr. Goodwin.
I would be at 11464 Rapidan Road in Orange.
Okay. And since we have other participants in the agenda, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Mr. Foster.
I'm in, on Bellevue Avenue in Orange, Virginia, 137, I believe.
Okay. Ms. Bradley. You're muted.
Sorry. I'm at 112 West Main Street in Orange, Virginia.
Okay. And Ms. Straub, you're also muted. No, you're not. Okay.
I'm at 112 West Main Street, Orange, Virginia.
Okay. And Ms. Amos.
I'm at 371 Williams Drive, Orange, Virginia.
Okay. And Mr. Voorhees.
I'm also at 112 West Main Street in Orange.
Okay. Hopefully all of you at 112 West Main Street are in different parts of that building. So.
We are.
Okay. We have an agenda. Any additions or changes, modifications to the agenda?
Move to approve as is.
Second.
Okay. There's a second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Any questions on the consent agenda, the minutes from December 17th and January 28th?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, passes 5-0. Okay, item 5, new business, resolution to adopt and appropriate the FY21 budget. Ms. Bradley.
You're muted, Glenda.
Never learn. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, you should have in your package a copy of the proposed resolution to adopt and appropriate the annual budget for fiscal 21 for the Broadband Authority. The total budget is $588,793. That entire amount is to be transferred as a contribution from the county's general fund, as the Broadband Authority does not have any revenues of its own at this time. There's a brief summary included in the appropriation resolution, and the appropriation resolution basically includes the same provisions that the county budget does.
Motion to approve the budget.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5B, approval of the contract with Byers Engineering. Amanda.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, in front of you, we have a memo to award a contract for fiber optic engineering and construction management services. On February 20th of this year, the Broadband Authority released a solicitation seeking proposals from vendors to provide fiber optic engineering and construction management services. This was advertised on the county website, in the Orange Review, and on EVA. The county received 6 responses, and out of the 6, we held interviews with the top 2 ranked vendors. Staff recommends executing a contract with Byers Engineering Company for 1 year with 4 possible 1-year renewals. The pricing is consistent with market rates.
Okay, any questions of Amanda?
Motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion. Second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 5C is approval of to use GSA contract to purchase electronic equipment. Ms. Straub, I think this one's yours, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, members of the authority. I do apologize, but you should have received an email notification late this afternoon with a revised memo to be attached with this. I'll be more than happy to go over it, but please let myself or Lewis know if you have any questions. Essentially, the broadband program manager is seeking to purchase large amounts of equipment, and we were able to find that equipment on GSA federal contracts. It's 2 different contracts. One is for AdTrain equipment and one is for Juniper equipment. The AdTrain equipment contract totals $518,391. The Juniper equipment contract totals $88,370.22. There's also a small amount, well, not really that small, $64,000, $204 worth of additional AdTrain equipment that is not currently available on the GSA contract, but the broadband program manager is seeking permission tonight to purchase that from the same supplier for quality control assurance. It can be shipped at the same time and there won't be any delay in getting everything up and running. So that is also included in the motion here this evening, and Lewis is available if you have any questions regarding the products that are being procured.
Louis, you might want to take a minute and just give the broad breakout between the 2 GSA contracts. One of them is primarily equipment up at Equinix to light that up, and the rest of it is for the rest of the equipment. So if you'd just like to differentiate between the AdTran and the Juniper for everybody, it might be helpful, just a brief overview of that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Juniper equipment is 2 routers that we would be placing in Culpeper. You've got to have 2 internet service providers to advertise your routes. Reason why you need two providers and 2 routers, in case one goes down, you can still stay in operation for redundancy. The AdTran gear is mainly for the transport gear, and also that gear, we provision it to allow to provide fiber to the home service or premise to the county, Orange County residents and businesses. So we provisioned all that in each one of these switches for our tower sites and our node cabinet sites.
Yeah, this is the electronic equipment that we described generally in our December of last year meeting, and the funds have already been appropriated. As a matter of fact, I think the good news is these numbers, actually the bids came in slightly below the budgeted numbers that we had put forth in December. So we are, this is not really a funding question. It's the approval of the use of the contract question for the main electronics, frankly, for the network. So any other questions of Lewis or about the contract? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second? Did somebody second? I didn't hear.
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Second by Mr. Crozier. Okay. Any further discussion?
I'd ask Lewis, when he looked at the price on those things outside the GSA contract, has he looked at anything comparable in other providers?
Yes, sir. We looked at some other competitors, and they're a little more expensive, especially in the routers and also the fiber to home. And Adtran and Juniper is not, it's great equipment. It's top line, but it's not the Cadillac like your Calyx would be and your Cisco. A lot of your Cisco maintenance is very expensive, recurring on your maintenance for your SmartNet, and we're trying to get a solid equipment at a reasonable cost so we can hold our recurring costs down.
That's okay. I was just making sure that we weren't paying a premium price for something outside the GSA contract. If you've made the comparison and they look good price, I'm okay with that.
Because the prices came in below what we projected, and that was before we even asked about GSA.
All right.
Good.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Item 5D, consensus to proceed with developing the capabilities to provide broadband service to the customers. Just a little bit of background on this to start with. We have been working really for the last year on planning and constructing the main, what I'll call physical elements of the countywide fiber network. And we're now entering the last phases of that construction and are preparing to finalize the plan and really make some critical decisions going forward that'll actually provide the broadband service to an initial set of unserved residences and businesses. I say it that way partly because I think it's important to view what we're talking about on this agenda item in a little bit broader context. It is important that we develop a detailed plan specifically to reach at least the first layer, the first phase of those that are unserved with our fiber. We also have the opportunity, if you want to think of this as a much larger pie, to over time invest or reinvest revenues from the Broadband Authority into extending fiber to even more unserved neighborhoods. There's also a slice of this that could include adding a fixed wireless component to reach other businesses and citizens that are beyond the reach of the fiber, at least in the short and midterm. We've talked in the past about hopefully using the public safety towers to mount the wireless equipment on there and reach even further into the county more quickly. There's also an important element of this, I think, is that we want to consider how to make the core network capabilities available to some of the more densely populated areas of the county. There's a very large resource that borders towns and Lake of the Woods communities and these kind of things. And we need to be developing plans and looking for opportunities to see how that those citizens can benefit from the capability as well. And another piece of this pie, I think that's important going forward is that we want to see that all new developments, particularly within the GWAP, that fiber is installed as part of the initial construction projects. We don't want to have to do what we're doing now in these unserved areas, go back in after the fact and begin laying conduit and finding easements and putting in fiber. We want to be sure that's included in the new developments. And I tell you all of that because there's the discussion today going forward is primarily about a single slice of that pie, which is fiber to the unserved areas of the county. To do that, I thought about a conversation I had with someone the other day, and I was trying to describe to her the broadband project and where we are and where we're going. And I came upon the possibility of referring to it somewhat like building a house. It's not a perfect analogy, but if you want to think of it that way, this past year, we've been building what I call the core fiber infrastructure That's a little bit like building the foundation and the walls and the roof of the house. And in terms of broadband, what we've done, we now have, or soon we'll have, about 55 miles of fiber that reaches from E-Hart to Wilderness Shores. That's a pretty amazing feat when you think about that distance. We also have 50 some miles of fiber that we control through long-term leases that forms a redundant ring up to Culpeper. And as Louis mentioned before, we now are working on developing 9 interconnected sites, the shelters at the public safety towers, plus other node sites that will house the brains, if you want to think of it that way, or the electronics for the to light the network. That phase, this coming phase, is a little bit like installing the electric system and the plumbing and the heating and air conditioning in the house. These are the systems that actually make the house function. The plan is that once the network is fully operational and tested, at that point, we will actually have the capability to begin connecting and serving customers. And that's really the plan that we're focused on today. In my crude analogy about building a house, that's really the sort of the last layer. That's the selecting of the items that will go in the house to serve and meet the needs of the family. Think of it as the furniture, think of it as the appliances, connecting the power to the power company or the water to the water company, these kind of things. That's really the phase that we're beginning to do the detailed planning for and define that customer service layer. So really the decision before us today has to do with the Broadband Authority moving forward to develop those capabilities to provide that service to the end customer, whether it's a business customer or a resident, with fiber in those unserved areas. There are lots of pieces to that deal with managing the customer experience, also monitoring and troubleshooting the network, doing all of the installs of premise equipment in the business of the residents, and of course to provide the internet connection to the World Wide Web through Equinix. And so that's the topic before us here, is sort of authorizing the Broadband Authority to take that next rather large step from basically having the shell of a house to now having a livable home that meets the needs of the family, in this case meets the needs of the residents and businesses of the community. Be happy to answer questions about that if you like. That's sort of the challenge before us, is about fleshing out the organization and building those capabilities. It will be largely done, I should say, with contract assistance. You saw one contract that we approved today with Byers Engineering that provides a lot of the engineering work to build the laterals and the fibers into the communities to be served. That's the main purpose of that contract. There's another procurement that's slated to be issued, I believe, on Thursday, that deals more directly with the customer experience piece and the monitoring of the network and these kind of things. And so we are building toward the capabilities that will allow us to actually be a service provider. Anyone have any questions about that, or want to?
Well, Jim, just to kind of follow up on some of what you said, I think it's good to reiterate that, by necessity, this project has to be one of phases. It's not something where you can just decide to buy a new car and you go out to the dealership and buy it and bring it back home and you're set. It's more like Johnny Cash. He did his car one piece at a time, and it's kind of what we had to do with broadband. There's multiple layers of the infrastructure that has to be taken care of, and then you have to plug it into the outside world, and we're at the point where we're getting ready to plug in. we're gonna need to do some testing, obviously, to make sure that everything works. I think it's important that everybody understand that this project is really for Orange County. This is not for a particular segment of Orange County. It's for all of Orange County. That includes, there's a lot of focusing on the rural areas that don't have any broadband right now, but it really will, it will be available for one purpose or another to every Orange County citizen, whether you live back up in a hollow, or whether you're living in the town of Orange or the town of Gordonsville or Lake of the Woods or wherever. There will be a slice of this pie, as Jim says, that will be serving you at some point. Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion if that is in order, and then we can perhaps discuss this some more, assuming I get a second. I would move that we authorize the Broadband Authority staff to build the capabilities necessary to provide high-speed internet service to our residents and businesses. Those capabilities to include the ability to provide a high level of customer experience, adequately monitor and troubleshoot the network operations, and to install and maintain customer premise equipment, and to provide redundant access to the internet through a presence at Equinix. That's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second. Okay.
Yes.
Second by Mr. Frame. Okay. Any further discussion, questions, comments?
I would just say that it's very important for people to understand that what we're doing is something that has been asked for a long time, and it is the equivalent of a utility, something that is a necessity for everyone. And we have been unsuccessful in being able to partner with the Commonwealth. They are more interested in working with people with a broader base of constituents. So it is extremely crucial for us to move on with this project and continue to be a leader within the state.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that as soon as we can begin to get sufficient clarity on what the service will be, what it'll cost, as soon as we can begin to get that information, I think it's important so that we can use that to be able to push out to the community as a whole.
I agree. A key part of this, I think, is going to be that outreach, getting people informed as to the availability and when and what type of service, cost. There's a lot of information that needs to be part of an outreach initiative to the community. This is as new to them as it is to us in many ways, and I think we need to plan for and include as this overall initiative a pretty well thought out and aggressive information outreach campaign.
I think as soon as we get price and service numbers, I think we need to have that so that people are begin to anticipate. And yeah, we won't be able to get to you for another 16 months or something like that, but at least people then have something visually to aim at from in terms of their of what they would want.
Right.
Yes, Lee, I think we're definitely, we've been working on that, and we'll continue to work on it. And you're right. I think sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks, that information should be ready to go.
Great.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. All right. Thank you all. Okay. Oh, I see no old business. We have other business. The discussion of the schedule and some milestones for the next year. Mr. Foster.
Hey, Larry, could you put up our PowerPoint or so everyone can see? We started the second. One more, Larry. Okay, pretty much the Broadband Authority pretty much adopted this vision and mission statement. So I just kind of want to go back through it to make sure if we need to make any changes or if it's kind of spot on. The vision is a rural community where everyone has access to next generation broadband. The mission is to bring affordable broadband services to our community, one connection at a time, to enhance the quality of life and meet the information technology needs of our community. This is what the Broadband Authority approved last year. I didn't know if we need to make any changes, but just kind of wanted to bring it back into the forefront. Okay, next slide. The outline is we want to talk a little bit about survey results. We want to talk about connectivity phases, and also we want to talk about the milestones and then have a Q&A session. Okay, Larry. We released a survey last May 2019, and I've got results as of April 22nd. We've had 984 responses. And what's alarming, 28% of those responses say they have no service. Only 8% are satisfied with their service. So those are the type of things that I just kind of showing the need for broadband. So, and that's got other percentages as far as the speed. So next slide. This is our connectivity phases, talking about the core network. Phase 1 was completed, connecting all the public schools. Phase 2, connecting the public safety radio system, is in process. The fiber for that project will be completed, construction as of June 30th, 2020. The network access points in Culpeper is in process. We have already built the laterals to connect to Reppan Electric and Segra. We've spliced the fiber into Segra, waiting on them to splice it. I'd like to bring up to you on the network access point to Reppan Electric. They're having an easement issue with a property owner in Culpeper, and I'm not sure exactly where they're at in that process. So it could be July or August before we're able to use that leg to Culpeper. I mentioned to them, I say, well, it's starting to hurt us. We might want to be compensated or reduce price if we can't get it up sooner than later. So I will keep you posted on that. Phase 4, government facilities. We've connected all the county facilities in the town. We've got a few more we're connecting out to the airport. Larry and his staff is testing the sites in Orange for us to transport to do away with the wireless access points that I believe we're paying approximately $30,000 a year to a company that we can actually use that money somewhere else into the county. Phase 5, which is your citizens and businesses, which basically you have just empowered the Broadband Authority to start becoming focused on connecting businesses and citizens. So as soon as we finish phases 2, 3, and 4, phase 4 is started today. Next phase. All right, this is some of the highlights of the critical milestones to get this system in operation. The node cabinets have been installed. They have been completed. You probably happen to see some of the pictures that I've been emailing around, but just kind of wanted to show you what some of the taxpayers' money and Broadband Authority money's been spent on. I think they look very nice. I've had wonderful comments from other people, for our citizens and other folks that's in the broadband community. Next key issue is issuing this OCBA customer interface and fiber networks support services. I had originally scheduled for May 1st, but I think it's got released. It's going to be released this week. That shouldn't hold us up. The next thing is you approved today for us procuring the electronics on GSA contract. My goal is to have a PO to those companies by this Friday. So that way we will have the equipment in hand by the first week of July, once the fiber gets completed, so we can start mounting the equipment and start configuring it. Also, another issue, area of concern that I'm having to get some prices for dedicated internet for as Culpeper. I've got to go get some additional quotes. So we got to pick 2 providers for as redundancy, but also for failover, and also multiple routes helps your access to the internet. Another item is installing racks and patch panels and DC power. My goal is to have that completed by June 12th. I got a star by that. Wanted to bring it to your attention. For that to happen, we're going to have power at all our tower shelters and node cabinets. And I believe that procurement is working on an easement for TAC tower side. I'm not sure exactly where we're in that process, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. Also, by the 16th, once the review panel looks at all these RFPs, we would like to get approval by middle of June for this provider if we got enough information, because it's going to take 4 or 5 months for this company to set up everything, understanding our business processes. Like we've got to know what our rates are, what kind of payments we're going to do, those type of things. We need to get a good handle on what are we going to do in those areas. Like we're going to include in the base rate X amount of footage to the home or to the business, or are we going to charge a fee? Those are the type of things that decisions that the Broadband Authority is going to have to make. And really, we need that kind of firmed up before we start implementing this software. Otherwise, we're going to have to go back up and punt, and we'll be losing time. Also, our goal is to have the fiber core, the core network up and tested by August 21st, if not sooner. That's up to Culpeper, failover test, everything. We would like to begin beta subscriber test by 1st of September or not sooner. I sent a list to the chairman this morning that sent me emails that was interested in being a beta test, and for him to share with you and decide who all we wanted to test, because my thought is we should test some folks on Spotswood. We've already got fiber, Mountain Track, Cox Mill, Madison Run. We know those areas don't have internet. Plus, I've got a couple inquiries. It was on, it was a business off of Constitution Electrical Company, I believe, that was interested in participating. So probably we need to get a list of 10 or 20 people we want to test, so we can go on and reach out to them. So that way we might could go ahead and start doing some drops, getting prepared for that. So when we get ready for the test, we can get, the sooner we test, the better we're going to be for as implementing the service, because we want to iron out all our issues, service issues, software issues, before we start rolling this out in the masses. Our goal is to have 100 subscribers installed and working by the end of this year. And starting January 2021, we would like to connect at least 20 new customers per week. So that is pretty much, in a nutshell, what our goal is. And if ones you should know by now, when I set a goal, I want to exceed our expectations. So I feel like this is a good baseline, and I'm gonna try to bring it up as soon as we can, but the software and configuration, we might have to take a little time to plan, so that way we make sure we get it right, because worst thing you could do is have customers call and complain, I've got outages, my bill's wrong, et cetera. We want to make sure we get it right before we implement it countywide. So pretty much that's the critical milestones I kind of want to share. There's a complete list in your packet that's got more detail. And my goal is we refine these, I will provide additional updates, and I will put a date at the bottom to give you an idea which version the latest. So that way we'll make sure we're on the same page of the latest. So I guess next slide.
Louis,
Question and answer. So go ahead.
one comment I wanted to make. When we talk about the testing phase, we're really referring to testing not only the network itself, but also the customer service aspect of that, in terms of the ability to do the monitoring, to handle inquiries and requests and these kind of things. And so it's really testing both aspects of the operating, or what the customer would see, because that customer experience side of this can be as important on some days as the technology itself. So that testing period is a little bit longer than you might ordinarily think, because we want to test more than just to see if the light comes on when the switch is flipped.
To give you an idea of the software we're looking at, for example, is if they do not pay their bill, we want it automated. It would actually disconnect their service. So basically they could go in a portal and pay their fees, and then it would activate them. We want to try to get as much automated as possible without many people touching it. Broadband is technology, so we need to utilize the technology and the best resources around. We would like to have people that's installing the drops getting work orders on their phones, knowing what's going on, so they can reply back to messages. It could be in a call center for customer service. So we're looking at a total integrated solution for customer service.
All right. Any other questions, Louis, on milestones and schedules and things?
Well, just
Okay.
on the milestones and the schedule, those are I'm looking at those as worst case scenarios. I think we're going to be ahead of those schedules. I have faith in Orange County that we're going to be ahead of those schedules.
Yeah, Louis is getting accustomed to me pressing on him. The very last milestone in the detail schedule you see now reads something like 20 customers a week. I first had it 2,000 customers in there. Of course, the math is, 52 weeks times 20 a week, you get to 2,000. But Louis didn't like 2,000, and so settled 20 a week. But these are the kind of negotiations we have underway. Mark is right. I mean, we're particularly with the extra energy that we're feeling because of people spending a lot more time at home these days because of the virus and other things. There's a lot of motivation to move this along as fast as we can. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, though, in terms of the testing. We want to make sure that when we do start offering this to real customers, that we're ready, we know what we're doing, and they're satisfied from day one. So there's going to be a little bit of tapping of the brakes until we have that level of confidence. But we do feel motivated to go as quickly as we can. So. All right, Louis, let's see, we've got just a few minutes left here. You want to get some highlights in terms of your program manager report? I think everybody has a copy, but if there's items you want to comment on, take a few minutes to do that.
Okay, yes, Chairman. Just kind of rehashing back, in January 22nd, we received notice from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. We did not receive the VADI grant. That was since we haven't had a meeting since December. Also, the Broadband Authority has got a locating company they hired, Insight. They started locating our infrastructure on March the 9th.
Just so everybody understands what that is, that's the equivalent of the call miss utility. We're responsible for identifying our own infrastructure, and we have to provide that service. And so that's what that is. That's our miss utility version of for the fiber.
Also, we closed out phase 1 of the Orange County Public School contract on March 13th. We found some defects, so we held back some money from that contract, approximately like $30,000, I believe, wasn't it, Stephanie? Okay.
36,000.
Okay. Also, everyone knows we had some issues with VDOT and the contractor, and that's how we got a hold of Byers Engineering to come in and inspect to get into good graces with VDOT. Well, his subcontractor that had the contract really impressed our inspector for Byers and also VDOT. So Yala Construction, Mr. White talked to him and negotiated for him to take over the contract from Computer, Cabling, and Telephone Service. And matter of fact is we got a note a couple of weeks ago. He's already completed a couple of projects and closed out. And he said he had 0 complaints on our new contractor. And I would say that was an excellent find on our part. Matter of fact is, I'm just amazed how fast he's been going. I talked to him yesterday on our last leg to the Wilderness Shores. He's already ran the conduit through the wastewater plant and the trail. He was just waiting on clearance from Virginia 811 to start the other part. We haven't pulled the fiber yet, but it's just amazing how fast they're moving. And I'm sure some of the broadband authorities probably witnessed or happen to see some of these work. But the node cabinet started on April 7th, and we completed them 1st of May. So that was a good completion. We released RFP, and you just recently just approved the contract with Byers, which I think that's a good partnership there, plus our new contractors. Also, we've completed fiber construction on 7 county facilities in the town of Orange. We've also connected 3 town of Orange facilities with fiber. We spliced it in, but we did not splice it at the road because we wasn't sure what kind of service they wanted or who would provide the service for the town. We had an agreement with them, and we will be billing them back for the construction. So pretty much the goal here is the fiber construction for all the public safety facilities will be completed on or before June 30th. And you've got more detail in the back. I'm not going to go through all this. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to call me or email me, or I want to make sure you get your questions answered. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. That completes our agenda. Any other items come before the Broadband Authority? If not, thank you all for being here. I'll entertain one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second. All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.